All right, I have 5 o'clock. Are we ready, everyone?
Sure.
All right, today is Monday, December 21st, 2020. This is the Village of Oregon Village Board meeting. I would like to call it to order and ask for a roll call, please.
Peterson,
Here.
Luke Stitch,
Here.
Horton,
Here.
Jacobson,
Here.
Randy Glish,
Here.
Carpenter,
Here.
and Bollig.
Bollig is here.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So now we have time for community input. This part of the agenda allows for anyone from the public to bring anything to our attention or talk to us about anything that is not on the agenda. So who is from the public here tonight that would like to talk? Just you can speak up or raise your hand. Zoom is a little bit hard. Wait a second in case you're trying to unmute yourself. Anyone from the public wish to speak right now about anything that's not on the agenda? All right, we will keep going then. Item 4 is public appearance. We have a swearing in of Police Officer Brockton Russell. All right, so I think I see Brockton is here. The chief is here. So Chief, I will turn this over to you to introduce Mr. Russell. Oh, and Chief, you're muted.
Do that every time. Thank you for the time to do this here. I know we have a full agenda tonight. Just to give you a background on Brockton, he was born in Madison, Wisconsin and raised in Mount Horeb. Brockton currently lives with his girlfriend, Megan. He recently graduated from the Law Enforcement Academy at Southwest Technical College in Fenimore, Wisconsin. And that occurred September of 2020, so fresh out of the academy. Brockton, prior to that, attended high school in Mount Horeb, graduated in June of 2010. He attended college at UW-Platteville, where he majored in criminal justice with a law enforcement emphasis. He originally went to Platteville for a music degree, but switched to criminal justice in 2013. While in high school and part of his college career, Brockton was employed at Ingleside Communities, a skilled nursing facility in Mount Horeb. He also had obtained a job at Country Kitchen as well in Platteville. And shortly after that, he went through the academy and then applied with us. One thing I found pretty cool about Brockton, many of the candidates we looked at had applications out to many agencies. There's a lot of departments hiring right now. And Brockton was not one of those people. Clearly, in looking at his employment history, when he commits to something, he commits to it. And that's obviously what we're looking for. Is we have dedicated and committed staff here, and we want to add to that. We did ask Brockton why, of all places, Oregon. He's originally from Mount Horeb, and he said his family thought this was a great community. So we're happy. He did a wonderful job through the process, clearly stuck out as a number one for us. And we were glad to hear that he accepted our final offer of employment. So I am excited to welcome him to our family and community.
Excellent. Thank you, Chief. So Brockton, do you want to unmute yourself? Because I'm going to swear you in. And we can't see you, but that's okay. Can you hear us?
I can, yes.
All right, cool. All right. So do you have a copy of the oath of office?
I do.
Oh, excellent. This would be so much easier. Okay, so it's much easier than having to remember what I say and then repeat it. Okay, so first of all, Officer Russell, welcome to Oregon. We're very glad that you're joining the department. If the chief thinks that you're a good fit, we think you're a good fit. So we're looking forward to getting to meet you and to know you.
I'm as well, thank you.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to administer this oath, and then if you want a chance to say a few words, you by all means can do that. Okay, so here we go. This is the Village of Oregon, Oregon Police Department. This is the oath of office for law enforcement officer. And then Brockton, if you just want to repeat after me. I, Brockton M. Russell, do solemnly swear
I, Brockton M. Russell, do solemnly swear
that I will support and comply with the Constitution of the United States of America,
that I will support and comply with the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution and laws of the state of Wisconsin,
the Constitution and laws of the state of Wisconsin,
the charter, laws, and ordinances of the Village of Oregon,
the charter, laws, and ordinances of the Village of Oregon,
the rules and regulations of the Village of Oregon Police Department,
the rules and regulations of the Village of Oregon Police Department,
and the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics,
and the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office as a sworn officer of the Oregon Police Department.
that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office as a sworn officer of the Oregon Police Department.
I will assume my duties as of December 21st, 2020.
I will assume my duties as of December 21st, 2020.
All right, congratulations. So this is subscribed and sworn to us before the village board on this day of December 21st. And I'll sign this, and Peggy will sign this, and you'll sign it. Any words or anything that you'd like to share?
I look forward to working alongside the community and all of you as well. And I thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, if we were doing this in person, we'd now have you kind of walk around and shake all of our hands and welcome you. So we'll all just wave. Welcome. All right, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, going on to item 4B. So this is a discussion with Pelletary Waste Systems representatives and possible board action. We have 3 items under here. First is a review of Lisa Court pavement issue. The second is review of any changes in recyclable items being collected by Pelletary. And then the third is the amendment to the refuse and recycling collection contract, extending the services through 2032. Okay, so item 1, we have a lot of information in our packet. I guess I'd ask if there's anything new. Jeff, if you want to start that you want to add, and then I'll ask the same of the Pelletary folks.
Sure, absolutely. So I just got just a very brief statement here, nothing too big. Just good evening, village board members. As you can see in tonight's packet, there is considerable discussion and material concerning Pelletary and marks made by one of their vehicles on one of our roadways. I apologize in advance that this is even a point of discussion at tonight's meeting. I just want to break down very simple terms. You know, this summer on August 27th, one of their trucks created some marks while serving a cul-de-sac on Lisa Court. We were notified of this by a resident that lived back there, and we evaluated the situation. We reviewed it and asked Pelletary to repair the marks. Pelletary spent a considerable amount of time and effort, and we assume expense. And I respect their position and their opinions, just because I respect, as everyone always has an opinion on something, and I respect that. I don't really wish to entertain any sort of debate this evening, or further waste any time of the board members, you know, on something that really could have been addressed in September. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have tonight on this matter, but from the standpoint of Public Works, we're just committed to repair these areas this spring, and we'll use public funds from our road maintenance fund. And we'll do that so that the concerns of the residents can be adequately addressed.
Okay, thank you, Jeff.
Yep.
And then I think we have some folks from Pelletaries. Did anyone want to speak on item 1 tonight? I'm not hearing anyone. So just want to make sure that that's a no. Oh, Danielle, okay, I can see you raising your hand, but I can't hear you. Okay, she's like 1 minute here.
You can't hear me right now?
Oh, okay, now we can hear you. Yes.
Oh, hi. Good evening, everyone. I am not a technical specialist, so I apologize. I'd much rather be sitting in front of you in person. So good evening to everybody. Thanks for having us. I don't know if you want me to, I I just had a little summary. I just wanted to thank the board and just talk about our relationship overall. Would this be the appropriate time to do that?
Sure, yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. So good evening to everyone. Wanted to first thank everyone for their many years of a great partnership that we've had in the village, serving the residents there. And it's been a number of years, almost 13 years actually. And we're very passionate about taking care of our customers. And we've been honored to have your vote this past September for the extension to the current contract. We're really excited to start providing weekly recycling to your residents and throughout the community. Our operations manager, I think, should be on the call too. It's hard for me to ascertain if he made it technically onto the call. He's a resident in the village, along with our maintenance supervisor and then the recycling driver that serves the community, and one of our other drivers. So we have a good strong portion of some of our leadership team that resides in the village, and Oregon has a special place in our hearts for a number of reasons along with that. With that said, I just wanted to state that we're really invested in making sure that we can be the best partner that we can be within the village and for your residents. And we're really looking forward to our continued longstanding relationship with the new extension. Hopefully you've all found us to be a strong partner. Not only do we want to be a strong partner with the waste recycling and provide excellent customer service, but just in Oregon, I took a minute to just review a little bit about the different organizations within the village that we've been able to be a part of and help support. Just to name a few, we've been able to take part in some of the different events for the police and fire department and the canine unit fundraising, the Oregon Food Pantry, the Snow Blazers, the Oregon Chamber, the Oregon Youth Center, the ACS Oregon Schools After School Program, the Straw Hat Players Theater, and then also the Oregon Community Ice Arena. So, hopefully everyone's found us to be a strong partner. We really take a lot of pride in serving the village residents and helping to support the things that are important there within the village. So with that said, I wanted to also mention that well over a month and a half ago, our family had discussed the extension and the extension contract. And usually we don't make a big, public fuss over it, but I did want the board to know that when we do have an extension and a long-term contract and partnership within a community, we always like to try to do something a little extra in that community. For example, Brooklyn recently went with another 10-year extension, and many years ago we supported their baseball diamond, did the same thing in Arena. And then there's a bunch of other examples like that. But when we were talking about specifically the Village of Oregon's extension, we thought that this year, in addition to our normal contribution, we do a fundraiser here internally and with our customers, commercial customers. We do a donation to the local food pantry in Oregon each year. We would like to be able to make an additional donation to support the Oregon Food Pantry, especially in light of the pandemic. It seemed like the appropriate spot to provide some additional support. So I wanted to mention that. Again, we're really excited to be able to provide weekly recycling within the village, and looking forward to being able to have a long-standing, strong partnership moving forward. So thank you.
Great, thanks, Danielle. Anyone else from Pelletieri? I don't want to cut anyone off here. All right. Okay, so I reviewed all the information that was in the packet, and I think it's pretty simple. Pelletieri has said no to making the repairs to Lisa Court, and I totally get that. It's not in the contract. It sets a precedent. Totally understand that. I hope Pelletieri folks that you also understand though that the Director of Public Works is just doing his job and following up on resident concern, and then reaching out to you and asking for you to address it. So I don't want any hard feelings over this. I think it's a pretty cut and dried issue. Some damage was done. You guys can't fix it for a myriad of reasons. I would prefer to move on and just to recognize your support of the community. But I also want to make sure that you know that Jeff has our support. He's doing his job. If he hadn't reached out to you, we would have been like, buddy, what are you doing? There's road damage and you're not following up. So It's just Jeff sometimes has this, not even sometimes, most of the time has this job where he doesn't get a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Jeff, what's the word I'm looking for? Kudos, applause, pats on the back.
Yeah, no, that's not part of it, but yeah.
Yeah, and he handles himself very well. So I don't know if there's anything more to say on that, board members. I think it's pretty cut and dried. Anyone else have anything to add? Otherwise, we'll keep marching through.
Jeannie,
Yeah, go ahead, Randy.
I'm just going to say that after I read everything in the packet, I guess from my perspective, I'm just a little disappointed that this couldn't get resolved much earlier or resolved at all, I guess. I think from a business, and I have a little business. From my perspective, when something happens and may not be anybody's fault, for me, I try to fix it. I try to do whatever I can. And so I just want to just go on record, say I'm a little disappointed that we hadn't been able to sort of come to some understanding much earlier than now. I wish we could have. That's it.
Yeah, I hear you, Randy, and I agree. Okay, so unless anyone else has anything further to say, we will keep going to item 2. And this is the review of any changes in the recyclable items being collected by Pelletary. Pelletary folks, do you have anything that you'd like to say here?
Jeannie, can I jump in for a second,
Yes,
Jeannie?
please. Yes.
I think I'm the one that I put this on the agenda
Oh,
because
okay. Yeah,
when I
go ahead.
compared the recycling information, my main question is, is Pelletary going to continue to pick up or collect, grocery, newspaper, dry cleaning, plastic bags? Because it's not on your new recycling list.
That is correct, Mike. The bag in the bag program was the one item that was taken off the recycling list.
Okay.
And part of the issue is people are wanting to recycle them, but not in the bags, and
Okay.
it's contaminating the paper.
Oh, they're actually just throwing them in the cart.
That's correct, sir.
Okay. So we'll have to make a point of getting that word out to people. So you'll probably get that for a while.
Yep. Oh yeah, we count on that.
Yeah. Okay. That was my main question, Jeannie. Just
Okay.
Unless there's something else, I didn't see anything else on your list. So did I miss anything else? It looked like it was the same.
We did add some things that aren't recyclable because we found that people thought diapers and hoses and things like that.
Yep.
So we did add some things that aren't.
Yeah, but as far as that's the only thing you're not collecting anymore are the plastic bags.
That's correct.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Okay, so then item 3, this is the amendment to the refuse and recycling collection contract extending services through 2032. We have a motion discussion to approve the amendment to the refuse and recycling collection services contract dated November 13th, 2020, extending the contract with Pelletary Waste Services through 2032. Would someone feel comfortable making that motion for discussion? Jacobson making the motion and seconded by Bollig. All right. Who would like to speak first on this? We've seen this before. Any changes to this contract? Oh, go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, I just want to call something to the attention of my colleagues and the staff that what we're really doing here is extending this contract for 12 more years. There's 2 years left on the current contract.
Yep. And
it's a 10-year extension. So to me, that may or may not be a long time. We've got a good vendor here that's always taking care of business in the village. But 12 years from now, that's a long time. And I was just wondering and I'm curious to see how my colleagues feel about possibly having a 7-year contract with an option for another 5 years after that. Any thoughts on that, please? I assume that my colleagues are all good with the 12-year contract.
Hey, it's Luke.
Oh, go ahead, Luke.
I think when we first reviewed this please correct me if I'm wrong, but if we went with a shorter contract, the price was a bit higher. Is that correct?
Well, I mean, the price structure that they gave us was for the full 10-year price structure. We've never asked them for anything. I mean, they've never provided anything less than that. I mean, the village board could say, you know, that this is the 5-year or the 5-year extension, and you know, that we could amend the contract, or we could have them resubmit the contract to knock off those last 5 years, or include those as an alternative to, you know, enact if they're, you know, with an automatic renewal. Is my opinion on that.
All right, Corey, did you have a thought?
Yeah, just responding to Jerry's question. I certainly, you know, with all things else being equal and including costs like Luke had mentioned, I would much prefer a shorter contract. And, you know, I just think things have been changing so rapidly recently. When you look at how recyclables have changed in the last, you know, 2 or 3 years, you know, and then you think about a 10-year long contract, I think that there's a lot of risk on really both sides in just kind of the whole market changing. So I certainly would prefer a shorter contract if possible, but at the same time, I do recognize Pelletary needs to run a business, and the business that they run requires a substantial capital investment at the front end to have trucks and things like that to make it work. So, you know, again, I do lean towards preferring a shorter contract, but if that means costs may be significantly higher, I may be fine with a long contract. So that's where I sit, Jerry.
All right, Danielle, did you have a response that you wanted to?
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
Okay, great. Sure, yes. I just wanted to mention, if it's helpful, is that, and I don't know if this came up in September when you were discussing it, but one of the reasons that, you know, we had looked at offering the 10-year extension was one of the biggest reasons on our end is that we're looking at a multi-million-dollar investment at our recycling facility for an upgrade that needs to be done. So as we've been working through changes that some of the municipalities were needing, such as going to weekly recycling, and or specifically in Oregon, you guys needed an additional day of service with your growth, it made sense to relook at that time. Being able to secure tonnages for future planning and looking at what our capital investments are going to be, and securing long-term contracts is something that is important to us, so that we can make sure that we can continue into investing into the back end facilities to make sure that we can continue to provide the type of options that we have been able to thus far, and improve upon that. So that is why we offered the 10-year, and that is correct that we didn't offer a shorter term contract, being that we've been partners with the village for well over 12 years. We've had other municipalities opt to go with 10-year extensions. Village of Wanakee just did, actually, just this fall, and a host of others, actually. It's actually becoming a little bit more normal to see some of the municipalities wanting to lock their rates in, you know, with the escalators and the locked escalators, and knowing that you're budgeting and having to provide for, you know, additional costs that are out of your control. We know that this is a big budget item, so we take on that risk in regards to, you know, what is a garbage truck, for example, going to cost 5 years from now, 7 years from now. You know, they're about just under $350,000 currently. And like I mentioned, with the investment in the MRF for our fully automated single stream recycling facility, you know, to upgrade that, you know, there's some big ticket items. So that's why we had provided the 10-year pricing, is that we felt that, you know, we were hopefully, you know, had proven ourselves and felt that the village would feel comfortable looking at going with a longer term contract.
Gotcha. Thank you, Danielle. Yes, Amanda.
I just wanted to point out that the other terms of the contract were really extending the old contract. And a lot of the terms are still in place. In the old contract, there's an early termination clause for default by either party of 90 days written notice. So if something were to go catastrophically wrong by either party, this contract can be canceled. So just if that makes you feel any better, I'm good with 10 years or 20 or 12 years extension, however you want to look at it. Just because, you know, there are things in place for us to get out of that if we needed to, or for Pelletieri to get out of it if they needed to, if we weren't upholding our end or something. How's it?
Jeannie,
Gotcha. Yeah, go ahead, Randy.
can I ask Jerry a question?
Mhm.
Jerry,
Yes.
what is your you want a shorter contract? Can you give us a little rationale? What's your thinking on that?
My rationale is we haven't talked about this since last summer. And given the length of this contract, that it's 12 years,
Yeah.
I just thought it's worth revisiting again. You know, given the amount of money that we're talking over the contract term. I have no problem doing the contract or the item as is. I just thought it,
Okay.
given all that, it deserved another look.
All right. I just was interested in what you were thinking, Jerry. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I guess for me, I'm fine with the 10-year extension, which turns into a 12-year. I think that Pelletieri is trying to control their costs. They're probably also trying to control the competition. And that's just what businesses do. They're trying to lock in communities to do both those things. So I guess I'm fine with the contract as is. Yeah, go ahead, Corey.
I actually need to leave. My daughter was in a car accident on the Beltline, so
Oh no.
it's okay, but I just need to go take care of that.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay, very sorry, Corey. Take care.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, that's no good.
Wow.
Any further thoughts? We're ready to vote. Oh yeah, go ahead, Luke.
No, I wanted to thank Amanda for pointing that out because I think she's right. I think the extension of the 10 or 12 years has a safety net in it, and that makes me very comfortable voting for this as well.
Mhm.
All right, well, we have a motion to approve the amendment to the refuse and recycling collection services extending the contract through 2032. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Thank you,
Thank-
Pelletieri team, for being here. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you. And thank you to Jeff and Mike for all your work on those items. We appreciate you.
Sure.
All right, going on to item 4C. This is a discussion with Ross Rutler regarding Rutler's proposal for site design and engineering services for JC Park West. We have three things here. First is to review the resolution 19-31, which is the development of JC Park West. We have the status of the concession building in the project. And we have a review of the proposal for design, engineering, and permitting. So who would like to kick this one off?
Could I take a moment to talk about the resolution?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure the board realized that we're staying within the parameters of the resolution. We're not going out to bid. All we're talking about at this point is doing design work. Because right now, you know, per the resolution, we cannot go out to bid until we got the $500,000 raised by the community. So I wanted the board to realize that.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right. Do we want to Rutler to speak, or Jeff, did you want to introduce it at all?
I think Elise is gonna speak a little bit, correct?
Oh, Elise. All right. Oh yeah, there's Elise. Hi, Elise.
And Mike, I'm not sure what you wanted to share specifically about the concession building.
I think that at this point, as the board knows, they're sort of working on a different approach with the concession building. And so Rutler's not designing it. That's not going to be part of the project at this point. So they're doing the playing fields and things like that, but the building itself, we're taking a different approach on at this point.
All right, great.
Yeah.
And I'll have Jeff and definitely Ross chime in here in a minute, but just wanted to remind the board, I think we had a little bit of this conversation earlier when we shared the concession stand concept with you, but there are a lot of questions and sort of specifics of the JC Park project that we feel like we can't answer until we get into the design process in terms of exact number of fields, exact layout, and kind of zeroing in on the cost a little bit more. So we felt it was important to take advantage of this time during the winter to move forward with some of this design and engineering work, and hopefully be able to, if everything looks good, be able to hit the ground running in spring or summer, whenever the board is ready to do so. But I will turn this over to Ross and Jeff. And I know there was one change we had just, or a note to make with some of the engineering services. I think those are meant to be included in this design phase, but that dollar amount was left out of the motion tonight. So I think we might go back and make an amendment to that at a later meeting, right, Jeff?
Yep.
Yeah, basically, and Ross can kind of go briefly over his design stuff, but two of the items, actually three of the items that were not under the Rettler proposal were the wetland delineation, and that we brought that before the village board about 2 months ago, month and a half ago, because we were still in the growing season and we wanted to capitalize on the fact that we could still do a wetland delineation. But the two other items that Rettler does need to outsource on that was a topographic verification survey for $8,100, and then a floodplain analysis to kind of deal with any kind of floodplain issues, because we do have two fairly large flowages on either side of the park here. So those things, we'll bring those back to you probably at the first meeting in January, just for your approval, so we can keep things moving. But Ross can kind of talk about the plan for this, and just so you're aware, our goal here is to kind of hit the ground running and make sure that we are ready when the funding of the park meets its goal. We're ready to move ahead. And I think that's important, because what we've seen is when you can get in a good competitive bidding market and you can get a good contractor to come in and take care of things, you'll end up with a successful project. So that's where we're trying to position ourselves right now. So Ross, do you want to talk about your proposal and just maybe hit the really super highlights, not don't have to go into all the details.
Super highlights.
Absolutely, guys. So no, I want to take the opportunity again to thank you guys for sitting here this evening. Our relationship and the projects we've worked on with you guys in the last year or two here have been very highly viewed and enjoyed by our staff. Along Mike, Jeff, and Elise has been an absolute privilege, and it's been a great last summer with the Highlands Park project. Just to give you a little bit of background, I did some research here. We started planning for JC Park as part of some other planning processes back in 2007, and actually revisited the master plan again in 2010, and then again in 2017. So we've taken a long time to review all of the different options here. But I think, at this point, looking at from a planning standpoint, the group really wanted to delve into the engineering portion of the work. So I think what gives you a really good summary of the scope of work as part of the proposal, without going through the whole master plan, really we're looking at updating the baseball facilities, a new 300-foot baseball field, two Cal Ripken baseball fields, and then that concession restroom building, again, as part of another process. We wouldn't be designing that. That would be done with some of your local partners. So also as part of the project, we'd be looking at getting two big pitches and rugby pitches, new parking lot improvements, regional trail connections throughout the park, new pickleball facilities, stormwater detention facilities. So there's a lot that goes along with the master plan that I'm sure you all had an opportunity to see at some point. So really what the first phase of work would do, pending approval, would be us moving into planning in January through April of 2021. So we would put together all the engineering and permitting documents. And I think what's important to understand here as well is that when we go out for permits as part of this process, those DNR permits that we'll be getting are good for 3 years. So that by doing this planning up front, we're putting you in a good position with those permits to move forward if and when you're ready to do the bidding. All of that would be in place for a period of 3 years, which is great. The idea here would be, pending great fundraising, we would be looking at starting in 2021, and then maybe having the park open in 2022 for games to begin. So again, we talked a little bit about the topographic survey, and with this area being in a floodplain, I think it's important working with your local folks, Rupert and Milky. We do topographic surveying, but with the proximity they are, with the technology that they have, we thought we would team with Rupert and Milky to do the topographic survey, and then also the floodplain analysis, because there is a zone of floodplain that does impact the park area. So other than that, we've also broken out, so you have your permitting, and then we have the bidding and contract administration phase services that would come later, and then also the construction level phase services that we could also offer that would come later. So really this first phase is for design, development, engineering, and then the permitting documents to get all your plans in place. So I'm here to answer any other questions that you guys have.
All right, thank you. Questions from board members? Mike, are you looking for us to make this motion tonight for the funding?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. Is someone feel comfortable making a motion to approve Rattler's proposal in the amount of $175,000 with funding from previous borrowing?
Yeah, yes, I'll make the motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I can second it.
All right. Second by Jacobson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. We're very excited to be working with you guys. We greatly appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good evening.
Thank you. All right. Item D, this is discussion with Computer Magic regarding the 2020 proposal and draft agreement. We have a possible board action or recommended motion to direct the village attorney to review the draft computer agreement and bring the agreement back to the January 18th, 2021 board meeting for consideration. Someone want to make that motion to get this on the table? Bollig makes a motion. Is there a second? Second by Glish. Thank you. All right. What do we need to know about this?
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, maybe have Tom or Brandon sort of do just a review what they're proposing for the board.
Certainly. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us. I'm Tom from Computer Magic. So there's a few things that we're proposing at this point. I think one of the major components of it is a change that we're implementing internally, and that has to do with how we're pricing our services. So we're taking an older pricing model, which was based on per machine and per server cost, and we're now translating that or converting that into a per user model. So to take you through the calculations, it's rather simple. What we're doing is we're taking your monthly contract, what the last contract was, and dividing that by the number of users currently at the village. So when you're looking at the page right there, the monthly contract comes out to be the same amount. That's the base that we're looking at. If you're looking at it by the per user amount, it comes out to the $68.33 per user. There's an additional component to this, and that we're recommending that the village upgrade the email server, the Exchange server. It's becoming to be somewhat outdated. There are two options that we've presented to the village. The first option is to continue kind of on the same path as before, which was to have the mail server be local at the village. So rather than having services hosted in the cloud with Office 365, with Microsoft 365, would remain locally at the server locally at the village on a server. The other option that we favor would be to have it hosted through Microsoft 365. And if you want to maybe scroll down a little bit, we've kind of talked about that in the document here. So naturally, when you have these two options, there's some price differences. And we've mapped these out over the 5 years that we think the system would be relevant for.
And we tried to do this as, hi, I'm Brandon with Computer Magic also. We tried to do this as comparatively as we could. Obviously, the two solutions are somewhat different in what they offer. So it is, you know, there is a price difference, but the price difference doesn't necessarily indicate the differences.
And board members, you may recall that unfortunately Corey had to leave the meeting. Corey is the one that was asking about the server during the budget period, about why we didn't think about looking at the cloud. So that's why I asked Tom and Brandon to do this analysis. So thank you for that.
Yes, Amanda, go ahead.
I'm just wondering what a new server would cost roughly.
Oh, sure. I think we've got the costs mapped out. Whoever's in control, if maybe you'd like to scroll down a little bit. There we go, right there. So we've got both options laid out.
So that includes a new server?
The total cost of the $48,000 does, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Is this, Tom, I can't remember, is this the hardware as well as the software, or is this just the software?
No, it's the hardware and the software.
Okay, because there is still there will still be a local server on site along with the Microsoft 365 option. This is specifically in regards to the email.
That's right. Yep.
Is where the difference comes in.
Yeah, I'm wondering, like, if we went with the Microsoft 365 option, we still need a new server. And but that price is not included with, or it is included with your numbers.
That the server is not included with the number here. I don't believe the server hardware doesn't change regardless of whether we're doing the Microsoft 365 or the local email server option.
Okay, so just the server price. Is that the $518? In the paragraph near the bottom there? Am I reading roughly? I mean, that's the local server backup?
That's the server backup per month. That's not the server cost. The server cost was a different quote.
Brandon, do you have that available maybe? Do we want to send that to them separately, or? I think we may have presented that to you, Mike, at some point.
I thought it was $35,000.
Sounds about right.
I think that's what Lisa and I have in the budget.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I was just looking.
And that's why Corey was wondering if we needed to continue to just have to actually spend that kind of money to have a server on site, or in the PD, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and a lot of people are curious about the cloud and whether you can, move things to the cloud and save money. And in a lot of situations, it actually ends up costing a lot more to do what you're doing at the village because of how you need to be doing things. It also opens up things for like Department of Justice and stuff like that for the CJIS audits and stuff, and those types of things.
That's right.
It opens things up a little more, and we don't have full control over that. So.
Yep, you're right.
So Mike, you just want a motion for us for Matt to review this, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted Tom and Brandon to sort of, because we're kind of changing the relationship a little bit. I just wanted to make sure that when you got the contract, you didn't go, well, what's different in this? And I'd say, well, actually, they've changed their formula a little bit. So I wanted to do this first, and if you're comfortable with it, then I would ask Matt to look at the agreement and bring that back to a future board meeting.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Jerry, did you have a comment, or?
I had a question.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
And it's probably for Mike. Mike?
Yep.
We spend a lot of money with this firm, and I assume it's because they offer good service and good work.
We've been happy with them. Yep, that's true.
Yeah. Are we ever going to go out to bid on this contract?
Yes, we will at some point.
Because we spend a lot of money.
Yeah, and we sort of talked about this a little bit during the telephone purchase, and I will tell you that we got that from Computer Magic, and I think overall I've told this to Brandon, I think last or a couple weeks ago, been very happy with the new phone system, so that's worked out well. But Candy and I talked about this on numerous occasions when Candy did all the heavy lifting on and Rudy to buy the new phone system, that at some point when we build new buildings, we're going to have to be looking at our IT, and that's probably at the point when we will be hiring a consultant, because there's really nobody on staff that's at this point capable of preparing an RFP to look at something like this. We'd have to hire a consultant, any independent person who would not be bidding on the service at some point. And so, yeah, we'll be doing that at some point in the future, Jerry. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Are there any further discussion or questions, or you're ready to vote on the motion? Oh, yeah, go ahead, Jenna.
Just have one more question. Thinking about what Mike just said about potentially hiring a consultant in 5 years or so when we do the village hall, I guess my question is, and I realize they only went out for 5 years on those 2 proposals, but which one of those would best set us up for that future state of hiring somebody and potentially needing to revamp everything? That would be my follow-up question.
Certainly.
Go ahead, Tom.
Was the question directed at us or Mike?
Whoever can answer.
Okay, I think, yeah,
I'm open.
Okay, so from our perspective, the best option would be the Microsoft 365 option. The local email server option, there are a few challenges with that we see. It appears that Microsoft is positioning themselves to kind of get rid of that service. They no longer will be offering the local Exchange server license, and they're shifting their model as well to a subscription-based service. So rather than paying for individual licenses, they now want users to pay for a monthly service that they're offering. So.
Okay.
So Jen, I would say the direction that Computer Magic is asking us to go as far as future billing, I think it'll be easier in the future to do analysis, if that's your question.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, both. We're good.
Both.
Yeah.
Any further questions? Yes, Amanda.
So I just want to clarify, they're just looking for direction for which type of agreement we want Matt to look over. Like we're just supposed to give them direction as to email server or the Microsoft 365 online option. Is that?
Yeah, that's part of it. And there's a draft agreement that's in the packet that I'd ask Matt to look at. But yeah, we're recommending going with the new approach on the billing, I guess you could call it, how they're going to invoice us, Amanda.
Okay.
All right, are we ready to vote? So the motion is to direct our village attorney to review the draft and then bring it back to the January 18th meeting. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Computer Magic gentlemen, for being here. We appreciate your time.
Thank you all for your time.
Happy holidays.
Yes,
Good
thank
seeing
you.
again. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, item E is discussion with public administration associates regarding the village administration search and some possible board direction. We have 4 items on here. Village administrator's note is thanking me for doing the promotional video for the job announcement. I recorded that today. That was fun. Second, review of the revised village administrator position announcement. We have a review of the position profile. And then we need to finalize the recruitment selection schedule and impact of Dane County public health orders. All right, Mike, do you want to kick
Sure.
this off?
Yep. So again, Jeannie, thank you for doing the video. I know sometimes those are challenging, so appreciate you doing it. And also, I think improving the script over the weekend too. So that was, thank you for that. Yeah, the first thing is the revised job announcement or position announcement, excuse me. And they did make the changes. I think the board wanted to see having to have hopefully live in the school district area and some other changes in there as well. I think, you know, acknowledging that if somebody from the private sector, you know, has experience, that would be considered. The one thing that Jenna brought up is a really good catch this afternoon. She called me in this, as well as the profiles, that we should have something in there about our initiatives for affordable housing. You know, that, I don't know how we missed that, but we did, and thank you for bringing it. And we spent so much time on that, and we should be talking about that. So the next administrator should be aware that that's a priority for the village and the village board going forward. I see Kevin making a note there, so.
Could I ask a question on that one, Mike?
Sure.
Do you want to have in the experience area of the announcement that they have some housing experience, affordable housing experience? Is that something we want to include, you know, and put that out there? I think that might be an important thing to emphasize.
Yeah, well, I shouldn't speak for the board. Let the board answer that.
I guess.
Go ahead, Jenna. Yep.
From my perspective, I don't know that I necessarily need them to have experience. Knowing the little bits that I know about affordable housing is the system is very complicated, and unless you're dedicating full time to it, it's hard to be completely up on it. But I would like to make that known that that is a priority of ours, and that whoever the administrator is would be expected to help us spearhead those initiatives as we move forward. So that was my perspective in making sure that was included.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't want someone who is otherwise qualified not to apply because they had not done an affordable housing project.
So if I can ask, you're talking about the first paragraph, putting it up above rather than what we're looking for in an applicant, when the part about the Village of Oregon, that we have affordable housing projects coming up, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, more clearly. My thought was that we more clearly express that, not just as a line item.
I think if you didn't make a requirement, I think there's going to be a lot of candidates that are not going to have affordable housing in their background. You know, maybe 10 years from now or something like that, that would be very common, but I don't think you're going to see it a lot. But I think, Jenna, you're saying you just want to make sure that the candidates coming in, knowing that it's something that they're going to have to work on it to get the job. Right? Yeah. Yep. I think that's what Jeannie just said. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just so I'm clear, then the future emphasis sentence at the end of the first paragraph, we would include affordable housing initiatives.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. There's also,
as well as at the end of that, future challenges and opportunities, where we list the initiatives at the end of the vision statement.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, right? Is that where you're looking as well?
Yeah.
So it'd be at the end of the position profile.
Yep.
Yeah, at the end of the position profile. Yeah.
Yep.
Great.
I think we're going to be on page 7 of the profile, I believe.
Yep. Yes, it is.
Yeah. And actually, I got to apologize. I didn't realize that Kevin and Chris didn't want me to put the profile in the packet. They wanted me to first review it, and I didn't. We got our wires crossed, so there's some changes to it. But at least the board got a chance to see it. And Jenna caught that. That was good. So I'm glad I did it by mistake, putting it in the packet.
The other thing I would note just for the village board is that based on what's final schedule which is a little bit later in the agenda here, we would move back the application deadline to February 11th. I think in the position announcement you have before you, we still had the January 28th date, I believe. So we would move that back to February 11th. I guess that would be in deference to the situation with COVID and your county restrictions on perhaps meeting. So.
I mean, right now, the new order that just came out last week, Wednesday, we could technically have a board meeting because you can have 10 people meet. So we could have the board, Kevin or Chris or both of you and the candidate in the room and still be legal. So, but who knows? I think my opinion, I think we should push it out and just, I think have try to push the interviews out till March. Hopefully things will even be better by then. I'm hoping.
All right. Any other action that you want from us there, Mike?
I think so. Kevin and Chris, you know how to make the change in the job announcement, right? About the affordable housing.
Right.
I'm going to ask you, when do you need the changes back on the profile? Because you want to get this out the week of the 4th, correct? Of January.
Yeah, we need it. We need it right after the first of the year, I think, Mike. So we have some time, to finalize it.
Okay. Because I want to take some time looking at it. I want to. There's a couple sections here I want a few department heads to look at as well. So, so board, is that okay if I'm gonna make a few changes to this and on the profile, and then it'll be available before our next board meeting. It'll actually be out in the public. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right. Very good.
And then again, yeah, the schedule, you're okay with sort of moving it out a couple extra weeks? It seems like everyone's okay with that. Okay. And that, and I'm going to, which means, now we're looking at the new person starting on the 19th, which means I'm going to be sticking around for a couple extra weeks. So sorry about that, but that's.
Well, thank you, Mike, for being flexible with everything that's happening.
That's fine. Not a big deal. No problem.
I just would like to thank Village President Carpenter too. I understand you did a phenomenal job with the taping. You only needed one take today, so that was really good.
That's pretty good.
That's very good. And the crew that we sent over there, they said the village president was just excellent. So I just want to relate that to you. So.
Well, that's nice of them. Thank you. They had 3 jobs today. They had to deal with 3 of me. So I'm glad I could make their job a little bit easier today.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for being here. We appreciate it. Well, I'm sure we will keep seeing you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Happy holidays.
Thanks,
Happy holidays,
yep.
everybody.
Yep.
All right. Oh, hey, yeah, Kyle's here. Hi, Kyle. All
Yep.
right. So I am up. We have a discussion with labor attorney Kyle Guia and possible action regarding the consideration of tentative agreement between the Village of Oregon and Local 421. This is the wppa Police Union for a successor collective bargaining agreement. We have a recommended motion to approve the agreement. Would someone like to make this motion and get it on the table, please? Motion by Jacobson, second by Luke Stitch. Thank you. All right. Welcome, Kyle.
Welcome. Hi, everybody.
We haven't seen you in a while. That's always a good thing.
It's always a good thing seeing the board.
So in public, we only see Kyle when things are going bad. So we like him, but we don't particularly like seeing him. Yes.
Oh, this is a good thing.
Yes.
So obviously, negotiating with the police and police union is a very important responsibility. And we try to reach agreements with the police union that have some give and some take to them. But if we can preserve stability in the police department, one of those core objectives. One of the issues that the police department's been facing, and it's a common problem faced by many law enforcement agencies, is attracting and retaining really good, high quality talent. And the law enforcement profession right now is a hyper competitive marketplace. Our team at the bargaining level has talked that Chief Pagenkoff would be an absolutely wonderful chief to serve under. But in order to get people interested in Oregon, or to keep them interested in Oregon as an employer, we got to keep up with the wages that are out there. And the village looked at the issue of recruitment as being a very important concept as part of this negotiations, and the ability to tell recruits that the village supports its law enforcement agency, that it supports its officers through a healthy wage adjustment was one of those objectives that ultimately we came down to as part of negotiations. And if the chief can utilize this as a recruitment tool as part of the wage adjustment, all the more power, so that we can place her in the best possible position to get the type of quality talent that Oregon deserves. So as you'll see in front of you, there's a 2-year deal that we negotiated to a tentative agreement with the police association. It does have a 3% wage adjustment each year. I do recognize that this is higher than what the village approved for other village employees. Everybody on our bargaining team recognizes that. We did insert some other language into the agreement to help make Oregon a more attractive employer for officers who are seeking to come here. One of the things that we also did was, in order to help the chief recruit what I'm going to call lateral entry applicants, we already have language in the collective bargaining agreement that allows the chief to take an experienced officer who wants to come to Oregon, maybe leave their existing agency, to pay that person at a higher rate of pay rather than the starting rate, but also to afford that person additional vacation time. One of the other problems that exists with regard to lateral applicants is oftentimes those employees are leaving a bank of sick leave where they're at. And let's say they have something coming up, later in the year, whether it's a medical procedure or they're having a baby due, something of that nature, where if they were to switch employers, they would be in a bad position because they wouldn't have that bank of sick leave available. What we did was we negotiated with the union to incorporate a lateral entry bank of sick leave. Essentially what this is it takes and it fronts to the employee the equivalent of 18 days of sick leave to have at the inception of employment, but essentially over the first then year and a half of employment, the employee doesn't earn sick leave. Essentially, they're fronted to that first year and a half. And if they use it and then they quit or they leave and they haven't worked long enough, we can obviously recoup that amount back from them, but also a means to help the chief recruit. One of the other facets of the tentative agreement, and cutting back to the concept of, when you have turnover at a law enforcement agency, it means that you're bringing new people on. And one of the important responsibilities within a law enforcement agency is its field training program, where the department spends hundreds of hours training new officers to understand what it means to be successful in Oregon, what it means to work under the officers and under the command in Oregon. That there's a substantial amount of time put into that. And oftentimes it's our patrol officers who are handling the field training responsibilities. As a means of incentivizing that role and rewarding individuals who are serving in that role and frankly doing a good job, we did look at increasing the premium for FTO rates of pay from 50 cents to $1 an hour. The budgetary hit at the end of the day is there, but it's not significant. At the same time, it allows our FTOs to know that the work that they're doing is appreciated, and hopefully it takes away from burnout that can exist with FTOs. When you're an FTO, you're working alongside a new officer for 8 hours. You're already dealing with the normal stressors of the police officer job, but not only that, but you're training somebody new. So that went into the mentality of approaching that. And that was something that the union, I think, was looking for as well, was recognition for the FTO. And this was an agreement that we ultimately reached with them. The last real economic area of the agreement is to increase the uniform allowance, only because uniform items are continuing to grow in cost. And when items are worn out, when they're destroyed in the line of duty, this is the officer's mechanism for recouping some of those expenses. And I would say that the uniform allowance that we have at $550 was probably on the low end for other communities. And so we're maintaining our competitive stance by raising the uniform allowance here. couple of other things that you'll see at the bottom of the document as it relates to what we call just other tentative agreements that were reached early on in negotiations. We now have our first female chief of police, but our collective bargaining agreement was loaded with gender-related references to males. And so we felt it was best to address that and to utilize gender-neutral references, so that will occur throughout the contract. There was a provision in the grievance procedure that related to a public safety and protection committee, which, as I understand it, doesn't necessarily exist or may not be the best committee for purposes of addressing grievances. And we simply inserted language referencing that it would be a committee designated by the board that would hear any sort of grievances that would come up to that level. Now, in my years with the village, we have had very few grievances that have ever gotten that far in that phase. So just a change, hopefully, of more of language than ever practice. The next change just relates to compliance with the U.S. Supreme Court decision to strike language from the contract that was otherwise now illegal. And then a clarification of a Scrivener error from the prior contract as it related to an inclusion of a clause that didn't have any further effect. The union, though, did want to preserve one of the elements of that clause, which confirmed the detective works a 40-hour standard work week assignment. And that was something we certainly didn't have any problem with. And then the last changes that are noted in here relate to the concept of flexing an employee shift as a non-substantive change, just changing the use of the word "the" to "their." And then also the association asked, as following the contract negotiations, if they could continue discussing with the chief a more formalized process for the posting of overtime. And certainly nothing much ado about that. If there's a way that the parties want to address how overtime is allocated or how it's posted, they're certainly free to discuss that and come to something that makes sense to the village and makes sense to the union. Last thing is just extending 2 side letters that have existed prior to the expiration of this contract through the end of this contract, which I don't have any issue with the extension of either one of the side letters whatsoever. I think it's pretty much a normative exercise. Long story short, this does boil down to the concept of keeping Oregon competitive with your peers. When you look at neighboring communities, Verona settled with its police department at approximately a 2.23 over this similar range in years. They also lead the pack on wages, which means we got to do what we can to keep up with them. So when they're making certain adjustments of that nature and they're already at a higher level, we got to come up with a little bit more to keep pace. Likewise, McFarland also settled in the 2s. And some of the neighboring agencies certainly as well were looking at settlements that were above what the village was otherwise offering to its other employees. And here, looking at it from the standpoint of putting the chief in a good recruitment posture was really important, hence the approach of utilizing 3s across the board for each year. With that said, does any member of the board have any questions for me that I can answer?
And Jeannie, I just wanted to thank Jenna for taking time out of her busy schedule to be involved in the negotiations with us. So thank you, Jenna.
No problem.
Yes, thank you. Any questions, board members? It doesn't look like it, Kyle.
Good. All of that said, board, you can vote on your motion. And if that's the case, I'll sign off and then I'll hopefully see all of you in like 2029. Hey, for those of you on the board that are not running, it was a pleasure serving with you over the years and working with you. If I don't see you before then, but for the rest of you that are stuck, we'll see you next time we see you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Kyle.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to inform the board too, I am open to any questions as well. And I certainly have some information in front of me I could share with the board as to what's going on under this roof as far as staffing and the challenges.
Sure, Jenny, if you want to share that, that'd be great.
All right. Okay, so I guess just there's a lot of thoughts here, so I tried to organize them. Just to recap on 2020, which I'm so glad will soon be over. We technically had 3 sworn employees leave our agency. Brian Ewell was one that went to Schwabenon. Jeff Owritt left the profession completely, and Corey Rayfelt left our agency to go to Mount Horeb PD. Not normally an agency we have officers leave to go to. Nothing wrong with Mount Horeb, it's just smaller, a little less opportunity. But there were a few benefits afforded there that are not afforded with Oregon. We have also had one officer currently, he just informed us he's in a process as well with another department. We anticipate him most likely leaving our agency as well. And the reason I bring this up is you essentially have two types of people leaving our department. One is this type that wants to move on to another agency for whatever reason. And the second is ones that just want to leave the profession, period. They don't want to be a cop anymore for various reasons. And that's what trend I'm hearing from other chiefs as well, is these two types of employees. We currently have 2 sworn staff vacancies. If this later officer leaves, we will have to fill 3 vacancies in 2021. That's a lot for us. It's typically 1 a year when we need one. To ensure there is proper coverage on the road, we've had to move 1 officer with little notice to an entirely different shift and an entirely different work rotation for the rest of the year. So this completely altered any vacation he was on, any planned trips, completely changed that. The officer took it well, and he understands this is the profession we're in, but it definitely takes its toll. This has also forced us to hold officers over for additional overtime to cover shifts. Whenever there are staffing shortage issues, supervisors then have to consider also the level of the officer's fatigue. Just to, again, recap on 2020, we had 2 hiring processes. One was in July and the other was in August. And to give you an idea of the quick decrease we're seeing, in July, we had 75 applications for the position. To be clear, Officer Navarro was by far #1, and we haven't regretted it one bit. She's been doing a phenomenal job. Out of those 75 that applied, 1 withdrew, 7 turned down the first interview, 11 were unable to make the first interview. We believe all, but we're sure able to verify at least 4 were hired by another agency in that very short time period. 16 applicants went through that first interview, and 8 of those 16 went on to the second interview. 5 of the 8 were backgrounded. Again, Officer Navarro was the one we hired. And this is where it starts to tell a story here. 2 candidates, they failed the background. That's almost half. And that's not what we saw when I got hired. There were a lot of past backgrounds. And so we're finding that it's #1, very important to do backgrounds, but 2, we have a lot of people trying to come into this profession that may not be right for the Village of Oregon. 1, I offered a conditional offer to, and he declined it and chose to go to Middleton Police Department. Another candidate who I offered a conditional to declined and said he'd prefer to stay with his current employer, which is the Dane County Sheriff's Office, because the benefits were better. The next process we held in October, we ultimately hired Officer Russell, which you've just met. We were sworn in. Again, he was by far #1, and I'm very happy with hiring him. But outside of that, for that process, we went from 75 applications in July. In October, we had 21 applications. And that's even after extending the process for receiving applications by a week. So out of that 21, we interviewed 12 for both of the interviews. Out of those 12, we backgrounded 4. Obviously, Mr. Russell was great. And 1 candidate pulled out of the process to evaluate his options. He was currently a law enforcement officer with another agency. Felt he thinks he has the pick of what department he wants to go to, and just wanted to just slow it down and reevaluate. And then 1 we chose to no longer pursue, and then the 4th failed the background. And I think Kyle mentioned this. This is not just a challenge for Oregon. It's across the state, across the profession. I looked at WileyNet, which is a main internet source for law enforcement jobs to be posted. So as of this last Friday, 61 police agencies in the state of Wisconsin were hiring. In addition to that, there were 14 sheriff's departments that are hiring for deputies. And that, keep in mind, that is just how many agencies are hiring. That's not taking into the equation how many each agency is hiring. So we are really competing. And Kyle had mentioned that. I can't emphasize that enough. These 3% for the 2 years, we're going to absorb the increase in our police budget through the current vacancies. I imagine that will be one question. During the last police commission meeting, I had no choice but to ask the commission to approve an ongoing hiring process for 2021, because potentially we will be hiring 3. As I fear we will have challenges finding high quality employees that we will be fighting for over with other agencies. This is the first time in my 15 years here I am aware of an ongoing hiring process we've had to have. Several members of the police commission did want to pass along that they hope the village provides enough incentive to attract great officers. We have predicted that hiring and maintaining personnel in 2021 will be a difficult task for us. We are asking for the 3% increase, and I think that'll be when looking at all this, I thought that would be probably the one that I get the most questions about. For the next 2 years, in order to attract the highly qualified candidates that will be the right fit for our agency and community. We also are concerned that if we do not maintain competitive with other comparable agencies, we could risk losing the great staff we currently have. During the negotiation process, we reached out to various agencies to look at comparables and did an analysis of their wages and benefits. And this is the end product of what we feel is a good step forward to remain competitive. So, is there any questions for anything I've put out there?
Jeannie,
Yes,
I mentioned to Jenny a few times that she needs to really keep me and the board in the loop on this, that if she continues to have issues, we need to know about that as far as recruitment. And, I wanted to make a comment too that, I think the 3-3 is also a reflection that we know that this is going to be a challenging couple of years for the department as we backfill these positions. And I think we just want to say thank you to the officers that are going to stay with us and get us through these next couple of years as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Questions or comments from the board? All right, so we have a motion to approve the agreement with Local 421 WPPA, the police union. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you, Chief.
Thanks,
Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Jenna. Yeah, appreciate all your work. All right, item 5, approval of minutes. We have minutes from the June 22nd, 2020 special meeting for wastewater treatment plant facility plan. We have minutes from October 19th, 2020, that's the second 2021 budget meeting and joint library board meeting. And then we have the November 9th, 2020 meeting. Can we do these all at once, Mike?
Yes. Yep.
Someone like to make the motion, Glish by motion by Glish to approve. Is there a second? Second by Peterson. Thank you. Any changes or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, vouchers. All right, tonight we have vouchers in the amount of $475,438.91. Would someone like to make a motion to approve these for discussion, please? Motion by Bollig, second by Glish. All right, questions by board members?
I have a question.
Yes, please go ahead.
I may have asked this question before, but Jeff, where do we haul our sludge from the wastewater plant?
Sorry about that. I was muted. We have a contract with, I think it's United Liquid Waste Hauling, and they haul it out to fields that they have contracted with. So once it's loaded on the trucks, the village is not responsible for where exactly they go, just as long as they're going to a permanent location.
So it's used as fertilizer, is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, yes, correct.
Okay. And how many times a year do we have to do that?
2 times a year, spring and fall.
Okay.
It adds up, doesn't it?
It sure does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 20 grand here, and so it's about 40 some grand a year.
Correct.
Yeah. I'm gonna back up a little bit here to Staley Plumbing and Heating. PD building repair. Was that a furnace or something? That 3381 on pardon?
It was a air conditioning coil repair.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Chief.
You bet.
And in Kaiser Park, that looks like a new furnace, and I think I remember we talked about that a couple of months ago.
That was approved, I think back in October, November.
Yeah, and I kind of recall that. So we're finally paying for that. I guess that's it for me.
All right. Other questions, board members? Yes, Amanda.
I was just the very first one on the list, the Alliant Energy traffic light at Park in Janesville. We normally get them so Alliant, on a big long list, and we approve them all at once. Is this light going to be off, like on its own?
No. I've asked John to incorporate that into our regular list of what we get on a monthly basis. That's just the new stoplights, and so it showed up as a new account.
Okay, that's kind of what I figured, but it was funny to see it hanging out there all by itself.
Absolutely.
And I was also wondering, number 9862, interior investments. That was a police department file drawer repair.
Yes, so we have these 3-drawer cabinets that our officers can put their gear in, and they're easily 20 years old. Some of the locks just started going bad on them, so we had them replaced so that they could lock their gear in there.
Okay, I was just wondering because I thought I was picturing more like a file cabinet or something, and I thought $152 would buy you a brand new one. Why are we repairing this? But it's a specific type of file drawer.
Yes, and I think they actually went around and repaired a few because the guy was here anyway. We figured we paid him to come down, so we might as well have him check all of them.
Okay, awesome. Thanks. That's it.
Further questions? All right, Peggy, would you like to do a roll call, please?
Stitch,
Yes.
Glish,
Yes.
Carpenter,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Jacobson,
Yes.
Bollig,
Yes.
Thank you. All right, proclamations and announcements, board comments. Anyone have a board comment at this time? All right, staff comments. We have our upcoming virtual meetings are listed there.
Jeannie, as I say that, I think for sure now, right, Peggy, we are going to have a primary because of the state superintendent race, correct?
it appears that way. I mean, it's not official until.
Official, yeah. But then I know that, oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say it's not official until January 5th when the deadline is, but
True. That's true.
There's 7 people that have put their papers in, so.
Yeah. But then I noticed on the village administrator search that 15th of February was the night that the board's going to be looking at some of the applications. So what we may end up doing is having the board meeting on February 1st and maybe just having a board meeting on the 15th just to look at applications, and then have a regular board meeting the following Monday on the 22nd. So I think that's probably going to end up doing that.
Okay.
As I think they're looking at a couple hours, Kevin and Chris, I need to talk to them about really how realistically how long they're going to need to talk to the board, looking at the resumes and everything. Because to tack it on to a regular board meeting, that's a long night. So I may suggest the board we just break that up. So I'll work on that.
All right. Any questions on those, board members? All right. Item 8, communication miscellaneous business. Item A is review of village attorney's email regarding the Thiel's request for raise order for 215 South Main Street property and possible board reaction direction. All right, so this is in our packet. Mike or someone want to explain this to us a little bit?
I think I'll let Matt, do you want to do it, or Jeff? One of you two that have working on this more than me.
I'm happy to weigh in. This is Matt.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yep, sure. So actually Jeff asked me to jump in on this. So the history, as I understand it, is that there was a fire in a building owned by Jerry and Bonnie Thiel. I guess the building was damaged quite significantly. As I understand it, the Thiel's insurance, someone associated with either their insurance adjuster or insurance company suggested that they ask the village to issue a raise order. And they did ask they asked the village's building inspector or Jeff Rao or both to issue a raise order. That struck, I think, both the building inspector and Jeff as an unusual request, because in our experience, really, people don't typically ask for the issuance of a raise order. We've really only done that historically when we've had a structure that we've tried to get someone to take care of, either repair or raise, and they refused to do so. And that's kind of a last resort in terms of requiring that the structure be raised. But here it's been requested by the property owner. I guess it reminded me that I saw a case that was a decision from an appellate court decision that was issued a couple of years ago where something similar happened in another community. Property owner had damage, asked the municipality to issue a raise order. I think because they, in their own communications with their insurance company, I think the insurance company in that case was taking the position that the structure hadn't really experienced a total loss. And the property owner felt that if a raise order were issued, they could go to the insurance company and say, well, I've been ordered to tear the building down, so it really is a total loss. So the municipality in that case issued a raise order. The insurance company filed a lawsuit challenging the reasonableness of the order. And in that case, the court said the order was in fact reasonable and it was lawfully issued. So I remembered that case when I heard about this and went back and looked at it. So I guess it's not unheard of that this kind of thing could happen. In any event, the Thiel's attorney reached out to me and asked me to give her a call. I did, and we spoke. My email summarizes the position I think I took in the email. And I consulted with Jeff and Mike about this ahead of time. And so I said that the village, I thought, would be willing to have the inspector issue a raise order if it was appropriate under the statute, but we would want an agreement from the Thiels to reimburse the village for any legal or building inspector costs that might be incurred, and also to indemnify the village and pay the cost of defending any challenge to a raise order. And Attorney Thompson, Danielle Thompson, responded that she thought those were reasonable requests. She indicated that Thiels already have a detailed report describing the repairs that are needed and cost estimates to do the work, and asked if the village's building inspector could simply rely on that report rather than having to kind of redo the inspection. And I indicated we could look at the report and would look at the report and then make a decision after we saw it. I didn't necessarily see a problem with that. Attorney Thompson requested an estimate of what it would cost to have this work done. I don't have that yet. I forwarded this information to Jeff and Mike. I know Jeff was then in touch with the village, the company that the village contracts with for building inspection work. Their reaction was they also thought it was an unusual request, and I think they had some concerns on their end about whether it would be appropriate for them to issue a raise order under these circumstances. I participated in a conference call today with Mike, Jeff, and a gentleman from that company to explain kind of what the property owner is requesting and try and understand what the building inspection company's concerns were. My understanding is that the person we spoke with was going to go back to his supervisor and have some further conversation about whether they could issue a raise order under these circumstances from their perspective. And that is, you are now up to date. You know as much as I know.
Okay.
The only thing I'd add on to that, sorry, Randy.
That's okay.
Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
I did speak to the representative from Safe Built this afternoon, and this was after Matt and Mike and I had spoken, and they're willing to work with us and the applicant in this situation. Basically, our ordinances and state code says basically if it's greater than 50% damaged and unreasonable to repair, then, you know, recommending a raise order is not that difficult. I do think, and I did tell them that, you know, per our attorney's request is that there'd be some indemnity language, not only for the village, but for our subcontractor in that situation, which would be Safe Built. And then this individual who I spoke with, his name is Dave Hendricks with Safe Built. He said we would just work with him on that, and then definitely would want to take a look at that report before, you know, they gave an estimate on what it would be, just because we don't know we don't know who issued the report and, you know, what credentials or anything they are. It's not that we doubt it at all. It's just my experience has been you really want to take a look and see what we have before we get into that. But you know, I think if with a reimbursement agreement, possibly a deposit from the applicant, like we're requesting on a lot of reimbursement agreements now, and this indemnity language, should be fine moving forward. It'll take a little while, but I think we can move forward with it.
Thanks, Jeff. Yes, go ahead, Randy.
So Matt, my comment when I read this, the thing that popped out for me is, I think, just my opinion, I would want our building inspector to look at the place. As Jeff has said, we don't know who's done the report. That seems odd for us to go by their report. And I don't know what you think about it. I would like our building inspector to look at the place.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think they would still look at it. Yeah.
You would?
Oh, yeah, I don't think anyone would do it sight unseen.
No, I think because they were asking us to use their reports to determine whether we're going to do a raise order.
Well, I think what would normally happen, let's just say this report didn't exist, then the building inspection firm or whoever would be hired to do that would come in, take a look at things, look at the value, run some very some estimates on, you don't go through literally wire by wire or anything, and then come back with kind of an estimate of things.
Okay.
What they would do in this situation is likely look at the report, look at the credentials, and if it's something they thought they could use, they would then use that as part of their tool. So they may not have to reinvent the wheel in going out and making a determination if it's easy to see that that's the case.
I guess I'm just a little uncomfortable not having it looked at.
Oh, it'll be looked at, yes.
I mean, the actual building itself.
Oh, yeah, it'll be looked at.
Yeah, I think it's yet to be seen how helpful that report will be. But as Jeff said, I would expect our village's inspector would for certain would go and look at the property, and then I would say to the building inspector, I would ask them to make up their own professional judgment about the extent to which they could rely on the information in the report.
Yes.
And so, and if they, if they look at it and say, there's a lot of helpful information here that they feel is reasonable to rely on, and that can save them a lot of time and money, great. If they look at it and say they're not sure they really can rely on it, or it doesn't have the information they need, then they've got more work to do.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so Mike, what exact direction are you looking for us? From us?
Yeah, and you're going to ask me that. That's a good
Sorry.
question. I'm trying to think. I think the recommendation, Matt, right, would be that the board asks you to provide that estimate to Attorney Thompson, right? And then if they agree to that estimate, that the board authorize you to prepare the cost reimbursement agreement. Would that be the next logical steps?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think the Thiel's attorney might actually, I think in her email back to me, she said she would prepare an agreement for me to look at. I think the question for the board is, does the board have any concern with us responding to this property owner's request in the way that we're responding? Should we continue to try and work through it in the way that we're doing here? Honestly, I don't have a cost reimbursement agreement. We don't have an agreement in place yet with the property owners. That would be part of any agreement, though, I would say would be they would need to reimburse the village for the expenses that you're already incurring some costs. I mean, I've probably spent a couple hours on this already. So, but I think Mike wanted to make sure you were aware that we were dealing with this issue and find out if you were had any concerns or comments, I guess.
Yeah. Thank you, Matt.
Yes, Amanda.
So I guess I'm just questioning why. I know why they'd like a raise order, but do they need a raise order to proceed? I guess they haven't revealed the results of the report that they have.
Hey, Amanda, at least could you do me a favor? Can you show the board the photographs we got from the Thiels this morning, please? I know this is new to the packet, Amanda.
Yeah.
This is not the report, but these are the photographs.
Yeah, let me pull that up here, Mike.
I've seen it. I live 2 houses away or 4 houses away, whatever.
I don't think the rest of the board's actually seen the photographs.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But I would still, regardless of photos, yeah, and you can pull those up. I'm just saying they would be, I guess I'm wondering if we even need to get involved in this issue. That's my question.
Well, it's a good question. I don't think the village is legally required to get involved in this issue. The statute says that the village may issue a raise order when the facts justify it. But that's certainly something we've discussed, which is, is this something we have to do, should do? Why should we? Why shouldn't we? I think where we are is that we have a property owner in the village who has made the request. And so we feel like we need to respond to it somehow in some way. And that's one of the reasons we're bringing it to the board to find out if you think we're handling it appropriately. My understanding is the reason they're requesting the raise order is that, and I'm speculating to some extent, I don't know for certain, but I believe the reason is that if the village orders the building raised, that means they can demonstrate clearly that they have suffered a total loss here, and that, as I understand it, that may enhance their ability to recover, for that loss in terms of from an insurance proceeds standpoint. Now, I'm speculating to some extent that that's the rationale. I think the Thiel's attorney may even be on this call, or the Thiel's. I think we got information from them earlier today indicating they would be watching the meeting. So if you want to hear their perspective on why they're requesting it, I guess I would suggest you ask them, but that's my speculation.
I don't see anyone on the meeting from the Thiels.
I mentioned to Jeff about this morning that during my time as an administrator, typically, and Matt and Jeff explained this, it's the village trying to get someone to actually knock a house down after a fire. So this is very unusual that people are actually asking us to do the order where we were trying to give the order to somebody to do it because we felt it was unsafe. So this is a little unusual. And Matt's right. That's a good summary. That I think we're just asking the board. We wanted to be very transparent about what we're doing here. We also want to also have you hear that a house is getting knocked down in the village, and you're like, what the heck's going on here? So we wanted to obviously keep you in the loop. But if the board's comfortable with it, I think we'll just keep working on this. And Matt, I think before we'd even would engage Safe Built, we'd have to get that cost reimbursement agreement that the board have to approve, right? Either drafted by you or by Attorney Thompson.
Right. I don't think we're going to spend too much more time on this without having an agreement in place that makes sure that the village's costs are going to be covered. Right.
Yeah.
And
they've indicated. Yep. Sorry. Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, Safe Built will need to take a look at that report just to get an idea of what they're dealing with. If they're going to provide an estimate for what they think their time and efforts are going to be to review this for the raise order.
Right. And is there going to be a cost associated with that, Jeff? Do you know?
It'll probably be included. I mean, it's just like anything else. They'll probably lump that into their total review time, would be my guess. Yeah. I mean, I think from what we heard from the attorney, from the Fields attorney, name escapes me right now, but they're willing to cover the expenses of the village, which is what we would just ask of anybody, and that would include Matt's time.
Well, why don't we do this, Matt and Jeff? What we've been doing with our new cost reimbursement agreements. Why don't we feel is a comfortable deposit?
Yep.
Ask for that deposit, get that deposit before anybody else does any more work on this. How about, I think we should do that.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
Yep. That way we're covered. And
I'm fine with that. And I think Mike, and you and Jeff and I can talk offline and come up with what we think makes sense for a deposit, just at least to cover this little work we're doing now, the preliminary work, Safe Built, looking at it, my time. Okay.
Yep. Let's do that.
Yeah, I see. So Jenna, so we got a bunch of people. So Jenna, you go first.
I guess, how would a raise order normally, I mean, you mentioned that it would be if the village wanted a resident or a property owner to take care of an existing building that needed some attention, either fixing it or removing it. But how would that get triggered? Would we send Safe Built out there to investigate it before we issued the raise order? Or that's my first question, I guess.
Yes, I mean, before you issue a raise order, you've got to actually, you can't issue a raise order without inspecting the property and making a determination about what needs to be repaired in order for the building to be habitable. So typically what I've seen in those cases where I've been involved with raise orders is that there's a building in a community that hasn't been maintained properly and it's gotten really bad. And typically the community will work with the owner if they can find them for some period of time to try and get the building repaired. And only after trying that and failing basically the process is you get a search warrant and you have your building inspector go in with a search warrant, do an inspection, determine what needs to be fixed, and then they have to determine what the cost of repair is. And if the cost of repair exceeds, I think, 50% of the assessed value, then the order can simply require that the building be raised. And you issue the order. It gives the owner a certain amount of time that you specify to raise the building. And it says if the owner doesn't raise the building, the municipality can come in and do it itself and then assess the cost as like a special assessment against the property. So that's the typical legal process.
And Matt, isn't there also, if it's a safety issue or something like that, like if you feel like it is a health and safety issue?
Well, you can't, I mean, you can only issue a raise order if you determine that the building is in such bad shape that it's not safe for human habitation.
Well, I mean, but it also means I mean, that we've issued buildings for like garages and that type of stuff. We've issued raise orders for garages before. That's not really a human habitation kind of thing.
Well, it's a comparable standard. It's not safe to have somebody go in that building.
Right, exactly.
Yep.
And we will likely be bringing this before the village board on another matter in the next 6 months.
Oh, thanks for the heads up there, Jeff. All right. Yes, Randy.
So Matt, maybe I'm missing something, but normally, I mean, typically, isn't this just handled with the property owner and the insurance company? Why are we getting involved?
Very good question.
That's also my question, and I see everybody nodding. Like,
yeah,
why is this our problem?
Do they get more money if they get a raise order, or?
I think so. Again, I'm speculating, but I believe that's the case.
I mean, because it just seems like a no-brainer. Typically, my house, I would go to my insurance. Why am I getting the village involved?
Yeah, I see everybody nodding our heads. Yeah. That was my thought too.
I'm not saying anything bad. I'm just asking. Yeah. It just seems odd to me.
Seems backwards.
Yeah.
Well, and honestly, what's to stop them from raising it themselves?
Nothing.
The difference is the difference is if the village issues a raise order, then they are subject to an order issued by the village that requires them to raise the building. They can take that to the insurance company and say, we have suffered a total loss. Here's the order the village has issued requiring us to raise the building. I think that's the simple answer.
I think they should just deal with their insurance company like anybody else would.
Well, I think they did, and what their attorney told me is their insurance adjuster recommended that they ask the village to issue a raise order.
Oh.
Now, again, there's nothing that I'm aware of that says you have to do this. So if the board would prefer that we say the village doesn't want us to work on this, we can do that. But here's the problem. Then is nothing requires them to raise the building. I suppose they could say, well, they'll wait until we issue a raise order. I don't know. I don't know what happens then.
Yes, Amanda.
So I have a potential scenario here, and I haven't seen any reports. I don't know anything. I'm just saying that let's say their report shows that they've suffered more than a 50% loss. Then they pay for our inspector to go in there and make their report, and it shows that that's not the case. Now we're involved in competing reports, and it subjects us to just potential messes. So I guess I'm not sure, if that happened, what are the potential pitfalls of that, Matt? What, like, legally, could they turn around and, I don't know, like, what happens if our person disagrees with their report?
Well, I don't think there would be any, I can't imagine any claim against the village or the building inspector if they disagree with our building inspector's determination. And by the way, you can see that I've already said to them, we're not doing anything without an agreement that requires you to indemnify the village against, and believe me, it's going to be a broad indemnification, any claim by anyone, so I'm not worried about that. This is something that I assume that they've been advised it's in their interest to get this raise order. Apparently someone who's involved with the insurance process has even recommended it because it facilitates their claim. Again, that's what it looks like. Now, again, I don't think the village has any obligation to do this. But you might find at some point that if they don't tear the building down on their own, you might end up having to issue a raise order in the end in any event. Eventually.
Jerry, did you have a comment?
My comment was just an observation, and that is that our staff is already very busy, and I don't know why we want to take this on. I'll share Randy and Amanda's sentiment that there's a lot going on, and their efforts are better spent on other projects. in a way,
Is
they're
that a
kind of
motion, Jerry?
making. Pardon?
Is that a motion?
I'll make a motion if my colleagues would be interested in that.
Yes, please do, Jerry.
I make a motion that the village staff notify the Thiels or their representatives that we are not willing to undertake that project at this time. And if they wish a raise order, they should have one of their contractors or subcontractors come down to the village hall and obtain one.
Well, it doesn't work that way, Jerry. They can't do that. They can't just come and ask for one.
So Jerry, your motion is that we're not going to get involved in this request.
Yeah, that's the bottom line. Yeah.
Actually, Matt, they're allowed to come down and request a demolition permit.
Yes.
They're allowed to come in and request, and we offer a demolition permit, and I think it's $50, and it covers Tony's time just to make sure the utilities have been disconnected and make us aware that they're going to demolish the building. But that's different than a raise order.
So Jeff, I'm just going to second Jerry's motion so we can keep talking.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Yep. So Peggy, you got that? Yep. Do you have the motion? Okay. And I seconded it. I could see Peggy was getting stressed. Like they're talking, and no one has seconded the motion.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So we have a motion and a second to not get involved in the request for the raise order and to cease staff's time working on this.
And I'll offer a friendly amendment to that if they wish, they can come down to the village hall and get a demolition permit.
Is that legal, Matt?
Yes, but yeah, they can apply for a permit to tear it down if they want to. Again, that's not what they're asking for, but they certainly can ask for that.
Okay.
They can apply for it.
All right. Yes, I will second that friendly amendment. All right. Is there any further discussion? Any strong opposition to this motion? I'm not seeing any. All right. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, staff. So you can stop working on that.
Yep, we'll contact them.
Do other stuff. All right. Item B. We have a discussion of possible action regarding Ayler's proposal for extending TIF number 4. This is the Standard and Tech College extensions. We will recommend motion to approve the proposal from Ayler's in the amount of $5,000. Would someone like to make this motion, please?
So moved, Jeannie.
Motion by Glish and a second by Jacobson. Is this is this what we talked about the last meeting, extending the TIF the number of years?
Yeah, for trying to do it for 6 years. That's correct.
Right.
But besides benefiting Lakestone, it will benefit the TID, which is underwater at this point. So it would be good to get the extension if we can.
Correct. Okay.
Regular water, not storm water.
Amanda, did you have a question?
Yeah, real quick. Just to ask, there's no like bad side of this at all, right? Like if something is in that TID, you can draw. It wouldn't stop us from redrawing another TID in the future that would encompass part of it because they can overlap, right?
Right.
So
right.
Extending one has no effect on any others.
Yep, that's right.
Okay.
Good.
All right. Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item C, discussion and possible action regarding installing bluebird houses at Alpine Meadows Park by Pat Hermsen. Oh, something positive. This is nice.
Yes.
Someone like to make a motion that
I'll
we approve the installing of bluebird houses in Alpine Meadows Park.
Does he make the other ones that are down in the park?
Jerry is seconding it. Motion
I
by
second.
Glitch, second by Bollig.
So Jeannie, I have a question.
Yes.
Mike, is this the, am I wrong? Is this the couple that donated all the property?
That's correct.
All
Yep.
right. Good for them. Wonderful.
They're great.
Merry
Yep.
Christmas, folks.
Yeah, these are affordable bluebird houses too.
Nice.
Nice.
Yes. Well, this
Just
is,
moving in next week, is that what I'm hearing?
yes. Well, this is very nice. We thank Peppermint for doing this. This is lovely. And yes, Amanda.
But just a quick question. Is there any sort of, have we thought about what would happen in the future if for some reason Pat couldn't, take care of these going into the future? Would the park or Public Works take over, or what do we?
Amanda, they're bluebird houses. It's going to be okay.
I know it's probably easy upkeep, but I'm concerned about, Public Works employees' time and stuff. It's another thing to do. And I'm not saying I'm against this. I love bluebird houses. That's not where I'm going. I'm trying to have a long-term vision. And
so something like this, honestly, if it's not something that's maintained by the person long-term, eventually they usually degrade, and we either just then remove them and dispose and remove the stake. Something like that. So,
or becomes a Boy Scout
exactly
project.
Yeah, there's
Eagle Scouts project.
There's a couple birdhouses, pretty extensive birdhouses on both of the ponds, and those individuals, honestly, I couldn't tell you who they are, but they do take care of them. They lower them, they clean them up and everything like that and stuff. So yeah, we don't want to get into bluebird building business.
Right.
A maintenance person for birdhouses.
Bluebird birdhouse building business.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, excellent. Need more birdhouses. Item D, discussion of possible action regarding a memorial bench. This is in the Highlands and Netherwood Park. We have a recommended motion to approve Sue Saunders and donors to procure a memorial bench in memory of Kathy Stevens, and to have Public Works install a concrete pad and mount the bench in the approximate location shown in the Highlands of Netherwood Park. I'd be happy to make this motion. Second by Bollig. Jeff, any concerns with this?
No, I've been working with Sue for a while here, and I met her out on site, and we picked a really nice location as shown in the map there. And these are really nice. What we have found is rather than just placing a bench out in the middle of the grass, we found that putting them on pads, they get used more and they're much easier to mow around and everything. So, and this is very close to where we had the memorial tree as well. It's just north of this. Yep, just right in that area that the lease is showing. So, yeah, it'll be really nice little area over there.
Very nice. All right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item E, division and possible action regarding Autumn Ridge subdivision phases 2 and 3. First one is an FYI only. We have a conceptual discussion at the December 3rd, 2020 Planning Commission meeting with developer Glenn Hofer regarding Autumn Ridge phases 2 and 3. And then item 2 is a cost reimbursement agreement with Ridgeview Development LLC. We have a recommended motion to approve the agreement. Someone like to make that motion, please? Motion by Peterson. Second by Jacobson. Questions on this? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 3, Vanderwall scope of services for urban service area amendment for the Autumn Ridge phases 2 and 3. We have recommended motion to approve Vanderwall scope of services in the amount not to exceed $25,000, and this will be paid by Ridgeview Development LLC. Is there someone to make that motion? Motion by Glish. Thank you. Second by Peterson. Any questions on this?
And so, Jeannie, this was covered in the agreement we just approved.
Perfect.
That they're reimbursing us, or actually, I'm sorry, not reimbursing it. They've actually given us a deposit to cover it.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item F, we have a review of investments, impact fees, and building permits. We have an item in our packet on this. Any questions or comments on this? Look like it. All right. Item G, we have a discussion and possible action on the West Netherwood Road and Cusick Parkway Stormwater Improvements Project, rejection of bids. So we have a recommended motion to reject the bids received in October 15th, 2020 for the West Netherwood Road and Cusick Parkway Stormwater Improvements Project. Someone like to make that motion, please. Motion by Peterson, second by Stitch. Thank you very much. So, so Jeff, we're not going to get this done this winter. Looks like, huh?
No. This has been it's been a disappointing December, and we were worried about this happening. We were moving ahead as if we were hoping that, quite honestly, saner minds would prevail, but that's not always the case. And we are continuing to work with Matt's office and as well as our engineers to now plan and chart a path that will quite honestly take longer and cost a significant more amount of money to be able to accomplish the same thing. And it's frustrating, but that's kind of the world we're in, and we're just going to have to move ahead with that because we've kind of exhausted our options. But because we can't dredge the Lerner lateral, completing the work on the Cusick Parkway stormwater improvements really would not make sense. And so it really is important that we kind of work our way upstream. And so what we will be coming back to you, so on this note, we did receive some great bids. I think we had 7 or 8 bids for this work, and we got a great price from Madrell Excavating. They were happy to do the project. It was going to fit in as a really nice project for this fall, and luck would have it, we had great weather for it too, but that just didn't work out. So while we were kind of sorting all this out, we just ended up having to honestly reject the bids. And one thing I've learned in all my professional career and as well as my tenure here, both in the public and private sector, sometimes you just have to step back and reevaluate things, continue with the same focus and purpose moving forward. And in the end, sometimes it works out in the timeline just perfect. So that's kind of the way we're moving ahead on this. But just for officially, we'll just reject the bids tonight. We'll request that, and then we'll be bringing more information to all of you. But I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Jeff? All right, so we have a motion and a second then to reject the bids. Oh, Bollig, yes.
I'll make the motion to reject the bids.
Oh, we already have a motion and a second. We're voting now. All right.
Great.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank
All right,
you.
Jeff, well, we look forward to that coming back.
Yep, exactly. Thank you.
Item H, discussion and possible action regarding disposal of police department old gym equipment. We have a recommended motion to declare the equipment as surplus and allow the police department to dispose of the equipment as outlined in Support Services Supervisors Rudy Trace's memo. Would someone like to make this motion, please? Motion by Glish, second by Jacobson. Thank you. Any questions on this? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Rudy, for putting that together. We appreciate it. Item I, discussion and possible action regarding the second draw request of $61,651 from Genesis Affordable Housing Grant. The first draw was of the $106,349 was approved at our July 13th board meeting. As a review, the total grant is $168,000 from the Affordable Housing Fund. So we have a recommended motion to approve the second draw request of $61,651 from the Genesis Affordable Housing Grant. I'd like to make that motion, please. Thank you. So motion by Jacobson and second by Glish. Questions on this? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item J, review of police department's reports for the months of September, October, and November 2020. We have these in the packet. Do we have questions for the chief on this? Thank you for putting these together, Chief. Appreciate it. Gives us a good idea of what's happening in the village and everything that your staff is working on. All right. Item K, discussion and possible action regarding County North Main Street 2020 project. We have a recommended motion to accept the proposal from Town and Country Engineering for the design and construction services for a fee of $70,000 per the proposal dated December 17th, 2020. Someone make this motion, please. Motion by Bollig, perhaps, and second by Peterson. Thank you. All right. So
Right.
this project is marching along. Didn't remember it seemed so far away, and now we're here.
I know, and anyone that's driven that road from North Main, from basically Grove Street all the way up, and I don't know if you noticed, we actually just repaired another water main break right up near just south of Burger King, and there's a big old gape in the sidewalk and everything. So we've had numerous repairs along here. This involves, so the county will be moving ahead with the design, and we've already walked the alignment with them and marked curb and everything that they are planning on replacing. But we'll be in doing our utility work before that. And this is Town and Country to do the design, the bidding process, and then the construction administration. You know, Town and Country's done a few of these projects for us. They're very attentive. They don't nickel and dime us. They're very professional, and they do a nice job in managing the contracts as well.
Excellent. Any questions on this one? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item L is discussion and possible action regarding old water meters and declaring them as surplus. We have a recommended motion to declare the meters listed on the sheets dated December 14th, 2020 as surplus and to approve the disposal of the meters. Someone like to make this motion, please? Motion by Peterson, thank you. And second by Jacobson, thank you. Any questions on this one?
Annually, we just do this. We didn't have as many meters this year because, quite honestly, with COVID, we did not do a lot of swap out of meters this year. In fact, we almost did virtually none. But police department, they get rid of their lifting and weight equipment. We get rid of old busted meters.
Gotcha. Thank you. All right, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item M, this is a discussion of including the pending operator licenses on our January 14th, 2021 Special Personnel, Public Safety and Protection Committee meeting. Mike, you want to fill us in on this one?
Yes, so we have a 8 a.m. meeting on the 14th to talk about this. That's the update on the school resource officer program. And I just want to make sure it's okay just to add 3 or 4 of these pending licenses onto that meeting. We do the meeting first with the school district, Jenna, and then we would do this afterwards. So.
Yeah, I think we could make that.
Okay. Thank you.
You don't need a motion or anything, right?
No, I just want to make sure it's okay with people. Well, otherwise, I would just schedule another meeting sometime.
Gotcha. Is that meeting everybody's calendars?
Yeah, again, it's January 14th at 8 a.m.
Bring your coffee.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, item N. 'Twas the year full of elections. We have a thank you to election workers and Village Hall staff from Peggy, Joy, and Candy. Peggy, anything that you want to say here?
Thank you to all of our election workers. I think Candy did a fabulous job.
Yeah.
With everything she. Thank you.
Yes.
Who wrote the poem?
That's Candy, right?
That was Candy. Nice.
Right. Yeah. She's amazing. Yep.
Yeah, those are some good numbers.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Item O, we have a COVID-19 update. This is the information for village property taxes on how to pay your tax bills. The village is encouraging everyone to pay their taxes via mail or electronic means. There are 5 options listed here. You can put them in the secure drop box in the parking lot. You can mail your tax payment. You can do it by ACH, by credit card. And then the last option, there will be 2 in-person collection dates on Wednesday, December 30th from 7:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. and on Friday, January 29th from 7:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. But if you can, please mail it in or drop it off at the drop box or pay via credit card or ACH. All right. Item 9, report of committees. This is the Planning Commission. This is the November 12th, 2020 meeting. First item, FYI only, the Planning Commission approved the site plan revision to the Oregon Optimists splash pad at the Oregon pool. That project is moving along slowly, and they had some grading revisions and such, and so the Planning Commission gave them the go-ahead on that. Item 2, also FYI, the Planning Commission had a conceptual discussion regarding the Oregon Ice Arena expansion. They were interested in building another indoor area for some retail and also some sporting activities. I was only conceptual. They'll come back if they make solid plans. Item B, from the December 3rd meeting, the first item 1 is discussion of possible action regarding approval of a zoning map amendment from planned development to central business submitted by Oregon Parks LLC for 871 Oregon Center Drive and 831 Oregon Center Drive. The Planning Commission acted in this way. Bano moved, seconded by Marr, to recommend to the village board the approval of a zoning map amendment from planned development to central business submitted by Oregon Parks LLC for the 871 and 831 Oregon Center Drive, and that motion carried unanimously. So before us tonight, we have ordinance number 20-15. This is an ordinance adopting a zoning map amendment for Oregon Parks LLC to rezone the parcels at 200 Liberty Park Drive and 831 Oregon Center Drive from planned development to central business. So this will allow them to do retail or business on the first floor and then residential on upper floors. So we have 2 motions. First motion to consider by 2/3 vote. We may suspend the rules and waive the first and second readings at tonight's meeting. So I would bring that motion forward if someone wanted to second it. Second by Peterson?
No,
No,
actually, but sorry, I have a point of order kind of question before we make this motion. Is the address at 871 Oregon Parks Drive the same as 200 Liberty Park Drive? Because there's a discrepancy in the agenda.
I mean, yeah, it is there. That property is on the corner. It has 2 addresses, so one address was used in one document, one in the other, but it's the same parcel number for either address.
Okay, thanks.
So
then I'll second
it'll be
it.
tied to the parcel numbers, yeah, not the addresses.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Then I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Any discussion on this first motion of waiving the first and second readings? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right. And then I would bring the second motion forward as well from the Planning Commission to adopt ordinance 2015, which rezones those parcels from planned development to central business. Is there a second? Second by Stitch. Thank you. Any questions on this one? All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right. Thank you very much. Item 2, we have a discussion of possible action regarding the approval of the specific implementation plan for the Netherwood Brewing regarding their development at 900 Market Street. The Planning Commission, at the Planning Commission meeting, Molzon moved, second by Severson, to recommend to us the approval of the SIP for that Netherwood Brewing development. That motion carried 7-0. So I'm bringing that motion to the board tonight that we approve resolution 20-41 to approve the SIP, the specific implementation plan for Netherwood Brewing. Someone like to make or second that motion, please? Second by Stitch. Thank you very much. So you can, thanks to Elise. Elise has got the map up there. Netherwood Brewing is marching ahead with building a small, very small microbrewery on Market Street. And I'm kind of excited about that.
Is that a microbrewery then?
Yes, yes.
A small microbrewery?
Micro, like super micro. Yeah. All right. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 3, this is discussion on possible action regarding the approval of a conditional use permit submitted by Lakeside Landscaping for operating a mixed-use business operation at 930 Market Street. The Planning Commission, Bano moved, seconded by Mar, to recommend to us the approval of this CUP. It was conditioned upon meeting the recommendations in the village planner's memo dated November 22nd, 2020. So I would bring this motion forward to approve the conditional use permit and agreement for 930 Market Street. Is there a second on this? Let's go with second by Jacobson. And as I recall, this this was for outdoor storage, right? And he did he's painted the building, correct? Yep. Made some improvements. There's a fence. He came before the planning commission a couple of times. The planning commission had some changes for him the first time. He made all those changes the second time, and then the planning commission felt comfortable moving it forward. All right, any questions on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 4, this is the FYI only. Planning Commission approved a site plan revision for the Journey Above Childcare at 767 Jefferson Street, as they were doing some digging and planning for that. This was a fencing issue, as I recall. We had to basically change the approved site of a fence, which was not a big deal.
Yeah, just got bumped out 5 feet closer to CC.
Yeah. And then item 5 is review and possible action regarding the proposal from Vandewall and Associates to clean up the online zoning ordinance. This is chapter 17. The Planning Commission was very ecstatic about this because most of the people on the Planning Commission use chapter 17 extensively. And so they actually, I think they wanted to spend even more money than Elise wanted. So they're bringing, they're recommending a motion to not exceed $2,200 to clean up the online zoning ordinance, to make it much more searchable, to make it accurate, to make it much more usable for developers, architects, planners. Apparently it's fairly out of date and needs some help. So we thought that was a pretty good price. So I would bring that motion forward that we approve the not to exceed the $2,200 to clean up chapter 17.
Second, Jeannie.
Yep, second by Glish. Any other questions on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. We have some minutes not requiring action. We have minutes from the Cable TV Committee meeting from June, from the Oregon Fire EMS District Commission meeting in November, the Library Board meeting in November. Anyone who serves in any of those want to make comments? Yeah, Amanda?
Yeah, couple of things on the OCA media minutes. At the bottom, it says our next meeting is going to be held at the Innovation Center. That's not true. We're still meeting via Google Meet. I don't know how that got in there, but still virtual. And then I noticed a possible, I hope, typo in the fire EMS minutes that said that the chief, I think it's 7H, if you go down a ways, yeah, that approximately 5 or 450 hours will be carried over. Please tell me that's like 40 hours or 45 hours, because that's like 11 weeks of vacation. We're going to carry that over.
Amanda, this is Randy. I'll
Okay.
have to check on it. I'll have to check with the chief on that. We'll see if that's a typo.
Okay.
I don't remember. I don't know if Jenna remembers either.
I don't remember the exact number, but I know it's high because, much to the commission's chagrin, we encourage him to take more vacation. But
I'm sorry, what was that?
I was going to say, I don't remember the exact number, but I know it was higher because we encourage him to take more vacation than he actually does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Amanda, we'll verify. We'll get it verified.
Okay, thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks, Amanda, for catching those.
Yeah.
All right, we have no unfinished business. We have no new business. We have some future agenda items. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved by Glish, second by Bollig. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right.
Happy holidays.
Yes.
Yeah, happy holidays, everyone.
Yep.
Thanks
Thank
everyone
you.
for your good work this year.
Thanks.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.